Hey, what's happening? You're listening to the Victory Loves Company podcast. I'm Conrad Agderian, and today is Thursday, April 5th, 2018. I am joined here today with Julia, who is the Director of Therapeutic Activities and Recreation at a reputable rehab and healthcare center here in Bergen County, New Jersey, since 2013. While busting her bottom trying to improve the quality of life for her elderly patients, she is busy singing in her choir, being a youth pastor, giving private music lessons, and traveling with her newly husband as much as possible. Julia, welcome to the show, darling.
Thank you very much.
How's everything going?
Everything is going well.
The last time I saw you, you were dancing to Dollar Wine on a Christmas party down in the Italian restaurant.
Yeah, it's usually how I
That's
how
how
I
you
do,
roll?
especially on weeknights.
Well, we've known each other since 2014, 2013.
Yeah.
I think we've been doing gigs together, and it was nice to see everybody in a looser setting. So, Julia, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
About me or what I do?
Surprise me.
Okay, I will talk about me first.
Okay.
So I grew up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, born in Doylestown Hospital, and lived there until I was 18 and went to college. I went to college at Immaculata University in Malvern, Pennsylvania, which at one point was an all-girls Catholic school. Became co-ed about 2 years before I went, which made the ratio between women and men in the college very different. But had the best 4 years of my life. I graduated with a degree in music therapy. Shortly after my college graduation, I decided to move my life to New Jersey, which was only an hour and a half away from my house, so it didn't seem like that big of a deal. Little did I know at that point that I was going to probably be spending the next 15, 20, 30, 40, 80 years here. I moved here specifically for an internship where I was actually working with the opposite end of the age spectrum, where I was working on a pediatric unit in a hospital. On a child life team where my team, whether they were music therapists or art therapists or child life specialists, would provide support to the kids on the unit, whether through music, art, or just play, distraction. And that's really where it hit hard, that this is exactly where I wanted to be. I hands down wanted to be in healthcare. If not a hospital, then I wanted to be in some kind of facility where I can be taking care of people who are outside of the comfort of their own home. So that's pretty much where I made my decision to begin my career. So once I moved to New Jersey, I moved in with a friend, and shortly after that got my own apartment, met my now current husband, just kind of got involved in all the cool things that the state of New Jersey has to offer, and started my life here.
Very cool. I had the pleasure of meeting your husband at the Christmas party.
He was a pretty good bartender.
Yeah, he was. He knew how to make them, man. He definitely knew how to make them. What is music therapy exactly?
So
tied into what you do.
Okay, so music therapy is utilizing music as a form of support. Whether it's being used, like I said, with children in a hospital where you're using it as a way for them to express their feelings, or using it as a way for them to be distracted from a needle going into their arm or from a procedure that's being done. It can be used, at one point, which I guess we'll get into as I further my career, a few years later, I was using it on a psychiatric ward where I was helping patients who were suffering from mental illness. They were using music to help cope. They were using music as a coping skill when they would leave the hospital. I would send each patient home with a playlist of, these are the songs that helped you get through your hospitalization. Utilize these tools when you go home, and anytime that you feel sad or feel blue or anxious. Here are the songs that brought you back to life at one point.
Any songs in particular, or I'm assuming classic goal, or is it just
in music therapy in general?
No, from what you just said. If certain songs, did some people have like a preference as far as?
Oh my gosh, there were a million different preferences. A lot of the times it was something that they were able to reminisce on, and I will continue that into my conversation about what I do with the geriatric population. They love to reminisce. So a lot of the songs have to do with taking them back to a time that was really good for them, a time that they can reflect on.
Any Taylor Swift songs in there or not?
In the pediatric hospital, yes. There were tons of Taylor Swift songs.
She's upbeat, man. She's upbeat.
Yeah, I used to perk the kids up a lot, especially if they could sing along. It was just something to kind of take them out of their zone.
All right, that's cool. That's really cool. Was there something that happened in your life, like a pivoting point or anything, whatever, that made you come to the realization that this was the thing for you? Or was this something that like you kind of always wanted to do?
I always loved to help people. I always loved elderly people. I worked at a nursing home actually as a waitress when I was younger. And I
was unaware that nursing homes had waitresses. Let's go.
Actually, it was more of like an assisted living facility that had this huge dining room and a wait staff that would come and serve the meals every day and every night. Usually I worked the dinner shift because I was in high school.
Okay.
But that's kind of where my love for the elderly started. But just in general, I always gravitated towards other people. I always wanted to help people, be a part of people's lives. I don't want to say I was a busybody, but I always wanted to be doing something with someone else. I would wake up in the morning and say, who's coming over today?
Right.
As a kid, who can I play with? My mom would say, nobody, it's a Saturday, we're going to clean. And I'm like, no, someone needs to come over so I can hang out with them. I just really liked being with other people and a part of people's lives.
Do you consider yourself to be an extrovert?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you really?
Yeah,
Okay.
with introvert
undertone with introvert undertone. How about that?
I like undertone. Okay,
right.
I can deal with undertone. I like that, and I like that it's an undertone because it's somewhere in me.
Right.
In me, I'm an introvert, but I don't come off as one. Tendencies. That's the word I was looking for. Tendencies.
Okay, so we'll go with tendencies then.
Okay.
But you're an extrovert at heart.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, you had mentioned, this was off the podcast, that you had recently purchased a home with your husband. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Are you going to take that philosophy of your hospitable nature and disposition, your bubbly personality, and you're going to apply that to your home ownership? Like, you're going to have people over, you're going to have the barbecue thing? And
Yeah, that's...
You got to have a blowout, Julia. You got to have a blowout.
Yeah.
You have to.
It's been happening in small increments.
Right.
Every weekend, a few more people come over, and then all of a sudden, there's more people at my door, and I'm like, did you invite them over? Yeah, I guess so. We had a friend stop over last night, and he goes, where did half that bottle of Grey Goose go? And Matt says, Julia has a lot of people over.
That's funny.
Yeah, my biggest thing about buying a house was that it had to have some kind of a deck and a yard. I need a place to put a fire pit, and I need a place to be able to sit outside with people in the spring and summer and just relax. We actually go camping every October, mid-October.
Where do you go?
The past couple of Octobers, we've gone to, it's a little campground up in Pennsylvania, up near Stroudsburg. It's called Otter Lake. The leaves change, and the lake, it almost looks like a purple lake because the reflection from the colors of the leaves on the water is just unbelievable.
All right, bringing this back on the rails again. So let's talk a little bit about what it is that you do at your job. I had mentioned earlier that you are the activities director and you're in charge of therapeutic activities. So I'm assuming music is part of that as well?
Yes.
What else is it that you do or that you like to do?
My biggest goal for our residents is that they stay busy and happy. Whatever that means to them, I can fulfill, or at least I can try my best to fulfill. I just want them to continue to have a quality of life, whether they are there because they had some accident happen and they're maybe in a little bit of a slump or a mood because of it. Obviously, it's taken a little detour in their life. It can cause a lot of sometimes negative feelings. I just want everybody to continue to be happy, even while taking this detour.
What activities are typically offered?
My patients right now are obsessed with bingo. They literally eat, drink, and breathe bingo.
Bingo's a lot of fun.
Yeah, especially because when they win bingo, for every 3 games they win, they get a bingo bill. So they get $1. And then once a month I open up a store and they're able to come and spend all of their bingo bills. That happened to actually be today, was our bingo store.
Oh, nice.
So I made a bunch of bingo bills today off my sales.
Very cool.
But I think that's what keeps them wanting to play, is that they're gaining something. There's a goal. How many bingo bills can I fit in my bag?
An end result, yeah.
Yeah, and it keeps them going. It keeps them motivated. Music is a huge part. Art. They love art. We have a lot of painting classes. We have a lot of teachers that come in from the outside and really teach these residents how to paint. Maybe it's something they've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be able to paint, and I can't. So I love to know that one day, if I'm in a healthcare center, that somebody will do the same for me. Maybe someone will teach me how to paint, finally.
Yeah, my friend, well, I'll put friend in quotes, recently, long story, like a painting. Let's put painting in quotes too. I'm going to put everything in quotes here, okay? I think my 7-year-old nephew can paint something a little better.
Oh wait, he's selling his own art, not selling like art for other people.
Julie, he's not selling shit. All right, he started it because him and his girl did it as like a stress reliever, which kind of ties into what you do.
So are you putting selling in quotes as well?
Dude, I'm telling you, he's not doing shit because he was just that dude. It was, you know.
Does he know that you feel this way about him?
He will after this podcast.
Oh, sorry, dude. So this wouldn't be the first time he hears that he's not your favorite person.
No, absolutely not. All right, let's bring this back on the rails again. All right, so you were talking about art therapy. Somebody comes in. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So what happens there?
It's okay. They do a lot of canvas painting, and they've kind of found their thing. Mm-hmm. They're really good at it. They love to display their work. They like to hang their artwork up in the building so everyone can see. It's a great outlet for them.
Are there any ex-artists or anybody that has a talent that's just kind of keeping it going?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which that can sometimes be hard because they realize that maybe because of something that they're struggling with physically or even mentally at this point in their life, they don't have the skill that they once had.
Right.
So we just try to do a lot of encouraging. We encourage families to bring their old artwork in just so they can do a little bragging. Kind of show everybody what they were made of.
Yeah, you dust yourself off a little bit, and I don't think that skill like ever truly goes away. You're probably just not as sharp as you used to be. But
absolutely,
it's like riding a bike. It's
Yep.
So a spin-off of that, Julia, are residents free to make their own choices?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
That's one of our biggest goals for our residents. For me personally, it's to give them, and our building as a whole, is to give them quality of life and a sense of purpose. Mm-hmm. But giving them the freedom of choice is right up there, if not higher. But that's something that will enhance their quality of life when they are given the choice to make decisions for themselves. So we encourage it at all costs.
So there's not a whole lot that is necessarily dictated to them except for kind of like the bare essentials or the necessities?
Yeah, I mean, we will educate them on maybe why they shouldn't get on a plane. I had a resident the other day ask me if I can pierce her ears. She said, I really want my ears pierced. I let my holes close up in my ears. And she saw me. I have like 6 earrings on each ear. And she's like, can you do that for me? And I was like, well, I got them pierced when I was little. Like, and I would go to like like the piercing pagoda in the middle of the mall or a piercing salon or store or whatnot. Claire's.
Needle or gun?
Always the gun.
Okay.
Always. And she was like, well, I don't want any of them to do it for me. I want you to do it for me. And here I am, like a little flattered, like, oh my gosh, this woman wants me to pierce her ears for her. Like,
it's flattering.
Our relationship is so strong that she wants me to pierce her ears for her. But I had to educate her and say, listen, that's not something that I can do for you. I've never even pierced my own ears. Definitely, hands down, not going to pierce yours.
Do you have to be certified to do that, or?
You know what? I've never really.
I know
with
tattoos, I know, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Does the same hold true for piercings, though?
I don't know. I mean, I assume that anybody can kind of get a job piercing ears at like Claire's in the mall or something.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Maybe you're just taught. You probably have to go through some.
I don't have any piercings, so it would be a new world for me. So I really don't know. But
maybe you and my resident who wants their ears pierced can go together.
Yeah, we'll go together. I'll get my belly button pierced. How about that?
Maybe she will too.
All right. Yeah. Well done. Speaking of being certified for the healthcare industry, the healthcare facility that you work for, is it certified and accredited? And how important is that on like a laundry list for someone looking to kind of move into said facility?
Yes, we are an accredited facility. We are a skilled nursing facility. It's extremely important. I mean, it kind of makes or break a facility. I know if I was making a decision to put one of my loved ones in a facility, I would make sure that they were accredited. It makes for a stronger work environment. It makes for a better quality of care for our residents based off of the quality of employment for the staff. And with an accredited facility, you have a better working environment, which means ultimately you're going to provide better care.
Okay, cool. What do you think the hardest part is about working in this industry?
It's heavy.
Literally?
Sometimes. Yeah,
No, I guess.
sometimes. Especially when I get like a wheelchair wheel over my toe. I'm like, ow. Now that my toe is broken, thank you.
That'll do it.
No, literally, yes, and figuratively. There's just a lot that comes with it. You suddenly have lives in your hands,
And you're responsible for them.
Yeah, and sometimes I say, how is me? How is just me, little Julia, physically, but age-wise, sometimes I feel like I'm still 10 years old. How am I taking care of people?
Well, you look it. You got to tell me what kind of skincare cream you're using for your
God,
face.
please.
Sorry.
It's called 5:45 a.m. makeup. Can't believe it's still on. There are a lot of hard things about working in the industry, but there are also a lot of really awesome things that kind of give you that balance. Some days are going to be really hard. Some days are frustrating. You're constantly trying to make people happy, especially for I can't speak for the nursing staff, and I'm not in their shoes.
Right.
But I know for me, I'm the one that's supposed to be providing them with joy. And the second that I'm not, it's painful. So that just constantly trying to strive towards that goal, and when you see that someone, the saying, you can't make everyone happy. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so true. And
no,
I kind of end up feeling that way every day. I'm sure you do too, with what you do.
That's the first rule I taught myself, Julie, is you can't make everybody happy. And what happens when you try to make everybody happy? Nobody gets happy. That's the way it is.
No matter how hard you try.
Yeah, no matter how hard you try, you're gonna what's the saying? If you want to make an omelet, you got to break a couple eggs or something. Wait, I don't even think that saying applies.
I've never even heard of that saying before.
No, I think it's like.
Now you're just making me hungry.
All right, whatever. All right, that saying totally was irrelevant to the point I was trying to make here. I guess the bottom line is, like, you can't make everybody happy. And when you do, nobody ends up being happy, yourself included. So there's going to be a couple of broken hearts, unfortunately. And I learned that the hard way. And, at the time when I was young and inexperienced, I tried to make everybody happy. I was the biggest yes man in the world. I could have ran for president. I told everybody yes because I didn't want to say no. I didn't want to disappoint anybody, but it runs thin really quickly because you burn yourself out. And then when you burn yourself out, now you're out of work. Now you don't have money coming in. It's stressful. I could totally relate to that, though. Let me ask you, Julia, is there a difference between working in a smaller dedicated facility like the one that you work at as opposed to like a larger facility or a hospital? Is there, like, what are the main differences there?
For the residents or patients, or for the staff?
You pick. You're the expert here.
Okay. I have worked for both. Both has its challenges. My favorite thing about working in a smaller building is you have all this room for creativity, and it's very rare for someone to say no.
Not as much red tape, I would imagine, because
Yes.
it's smaller and it's more intimate, right?
You only have to get the yes word from like one person.
Yeah, you don't have to go through somebody to just get a simple yes. Yeah,
I remember working in a hospital and just kind of trying to prove that our hospital would benefit from my services. I interned in St. Barnabas Hospital in Livingston. So I was there for about 7 months, just for it was in 1,000 hours or whatnot for my internship program. And then I started working at another Barnabas hospital in Belleville, New Jersey, called Claramas. And I worked on their behavioral health units. So I worked there for about 2.5 years before I made my way to where I am now.
Do you believe that you found your niche working in this industry?
I went back and forth for the first couple of years that I was working where I work now, and I would ask myself, is this where I want to be? Is this where I want to continue to be? And I wasn't really sure. But once I spent a couple of years there and saw the way that things evolved and how many changes were made, just think about all of the different patients and clientele and families that come in and out, come in and get discharged, come in and go home. It has changed so much since I've been there for over 4 years that I can't see ever getting bored of it.
It's always a new adventure every day.
Yeah. And also the other things that I've like you just mentioned, all the other things that I'm involved in my life, kind of keeps everything very balanced. I feel very fulfilled, just in my life in general. So I don't feel like I'm relying on my job solely to keep me fulfilled. So I think I'm here to stay, at least for now. I have no intention of leaving. Every once in a while, when I have a bad day or I get a little agitated, I'll just type into Google real quick just to kind of see what else is out there. But that's just, that's just my curiosity. Could I leave right now? Could I just leave the program that I have spent so much time working on? I've invested my heart and soul into this program. I've made it what it is today. Can I just walk away from it? No, not right now.
That's it. Well, that's your little baby. You know, you don't want to walk away from that right now.
No, not ready.
All
and
right.
I think when I am, I will know. I look at it like no matter where I work, I'm gonna have troubles, or I'm gonna have a bad day, or I'm gonna get frustrated. I talk with my friends about it all the time, and they're like, "Well, don't think that my job doesn't get frustrating."
I know.
Especially when you're working with other people. Other people can be very, very hard to work with.
Oh, no, I can imagine. Look, I mean...
Or when you're pleasing people for a living, and that's kind of,
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
It's kind of your industry, and like, it's always going to be challenging.
Again, from the few years that we've been doing business together, I mean, you're just very jovial. You're very peppy with your clients and with the residents and whatnot. So, how do you feel about community service? Bringing in community service to your facility?
I love community service. When I first started working there, I would have people calling me and kind of reaching out, hey, can I bring in this? Can I bring in that? Can I have my Girl Scout troop come? And I would sort of kind of get annoyed, like, oh, I don't have time for this. Oh my gosh. But then I started to embrace it, and I started to open up, a little bit more of an outlet to the community so that they could come in and so they could provide joy and love and all this other good stuff to our residents, and that our residents could get a little touch of the outside. So I started scheduling it in to our calendar and into our programs, and kind of had it booming. Especially, I guess about a year ago, I had a ton of high school students coming and doing their community service with us, where they have to like log hours to like graduate or to, fulfill their confirmation requirements or whatnot. And the kids started to really embrace it. And it turned out like as the years went on and as they got a little older, they all end up reaching out to me again years later and saying like, hey, I need a summer job, or like, hey, I need a reference for something. And I enjoyed both aspects of being a part of this. I enjoyed the relationship that I made with all of these other people in the community. And I also really liked what they brought in, obviously, for our residents. They never leave without giving a great deal of happiness to our facility.
Okay, good.
It's just something different. It's great to see our kids come in to kind of be with a population that they don't usually spend that much time with, especially not in a large quantity. Like maybe they have like a grandmother or something, but they don't have 60 grandmothers. So all in all, I'm really open to community service. Okay. I like bringing them in.
Very noble cause. All right, Julie, darling, it looks like that we touched on, I think, everything, unless there's anything else that you'd like to add.
Well, we've bumped into each other a few times in our work days. If you and I had to switch jobs, how long do you think we would last in each other's positions?
That's actually a good question. All right, so if I had to do what you did, how long would I last? If you had to do what I did, how long do you think you would last? Is that your question? Oh, Jesus. Okay. All right.
Knowing only what you know now. Same for me.
If I had to do what you did, 3 months before I started to get a little agitated. But since you're an activity director, that's somewhat related to what I do because I do parties. As far as this side, I don't know. I don't want to underestimate you. I think you're capable of a lot. I think you bring a lot of smiles to people, whether it's your coworkers, your friends, or your residents, and that's a big part. That's a big part of this industry, is to make people happy and whatnot. So the question you got to ask yourself is: are you willing to deal with larger parties at the capacity of like millionaire status? Because I have a lot of high-end clients that they throw these very lavish parties, like these Gatsby style parties, and if something is a little out of whack, you got to deal with it.
No, I just don't think I'd be able to tolerate that. Actually, as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, I think I'd go nuts, just because I think people are so way too elaborate sometimes, to the point where I'm like, this is exhausting me by just watching.
The term is anal, Julia.
Anal, yes.
People get very anal. They get very meticulous. There's the opposite end of the spectrum. Is you get like the people that will have a party at a lesser known place, And those are the type of people that will like, hey, Conrad, do you want something to eat? Well, come in and sit down. Do you want something to drink and whatever? And it's like, I'm there just to do a drop off, or I'm there just to set something up and then come back like 5 hours later. But I've had the opportunity of meeting some really, really cool people, very nice, people like yourself, and all across the board in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and a little bit of Pennsylvania. So I'm fortunate in that aspect. But again, just like everything else, there's the good and then there's the bad. And somewhere in there is a little bit of luck, but luck is a byproduct of the hard work that you put into it, such as yourself. I'm sure that type of success and fulfillment did not happen overnight.
No, that's for sure.
No. So anything worth doing is certainly worth doing, right? Says this guy.
And if this guy says it, then it's pretty much correct.
You heard it here, guys. You heard it here.
It is correct.
Julia, I want to thank you for coming on. You were absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
You did a
Thanks
great
for
job.
having me. It was
My
a pleasure.
And hopefully I'll see you again in a couple weeks when we do your photo booth gig, and maybe we'll have another story to tell. Who knows?
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
All right, dude. It was good having you on.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, and that's the podcast. I want to thank everyone for listening to Victory Loves Company. If you have any questions or suggestions for upcoming shows, please email us at thevictorypodcast@gmail.com. And as always, please check us out on our social media outlets at VLC Podcast. And I'll talk to you next week.